What's up, guys? It's your girl, Elle, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Inner Alchemy, where we talk about all things inner transformation. And today, I want to talk about how I healed my genital herpes. And I want to tell you my story about that. And I just want to share my thoughts, my feelings, and my experience with that. So if that sounds like it's interesting to you, stick around. So there's going to be quite a few of you, I'm sure, watching this that have already seen my OK Raw interview from 2019. So if you haven't, or if you have, doesn't matter. I'm going to link it below. So if you want to watch that, you can watch that. I will forewarn you now, it is extremely fucking cringy. Oh God, it was like 6 years ago already now, or 5 years. No, 6 years ago now. And I was nervous. I was afraid to be on camera. I was afraid to be telling the world that I healed my herpes, since it didn't get very good reactions from my doctors or from anybody, really. Nobody believed me. I was really scared to put myself out there. So I was really nervous during that interview. And I was a lot younger and not well versed in the ways that I am today. And so it's very cringy, very hard for me to watch. So if you want to go have a good laugh, get some cool information, and see the beginning of my journey, you can check that out. So where to begin, you guys? Where to begin? Because, since that interview, I have created my own HSV and disease healing program, the Reset program. I've been 8 years free of HSV. And honestly, I don't work with people with HSV anymore. It's something that I'm considering maybe doing again. So I'm not too sure. We'll see what this video ends up bringing. I have a feeling it's going to end up bringing a lot of people to me, and I'm feeling very called to share this story now, because I've been waiting a really long time to share a different version of this story, honestly. Because I was young, dumb, and nervous in the first video, and I feel like I missed so many key components to healing, because healing is holistic. It's not just focusing on detoxing the physical. It's a mental thing. It's an emotional thing. It's a spiritual thing. And I feel like so much of that was left out because I didn't know how to talk about those things. I'm somebody who's been talking about the kooky spiritual stuff my whole life, and I've always been bullied for it. I've always been made fun of for it. And up until the last, I'd say 3 years, talking about that type of stuff wasn't really popular. And it definitely had people hate you or bully you or make fun of you or not believe you or discredit you. And well, the world is just far more open to those things. And so here I am, and I'm going to share the side of healing that most people are not talking about. And so everything I'm going to be talking about in this video, although I'm going to be sharing my healing journey of HSV, I want you to know that everything I'm talking about will apply to any health issue, any illness, any disease. It is the same principle. And so where to even begin? I guess I will tell my story, because there's going to be a lot of people watching this that don't know my story, and there's going to be some people that do know my story. So my story begins in 2017, and I just got out of a 10-year-long abusive relationship. I was a mess. I was a wreck. I had a lot of CPTSD from having a narcissistic and abusive mother in childhood to narcissistic abusive partner. And so I have a lot of complex trauma, and a lot of wounds and a lot of patterns come with that. And so when I got out of that relationship, needless to say, I was a mess, and I got into some hard drugs. I got wrapped up with the wrong people, and I decided that in order to start this new phase of my life outside of this relationship, that I should sleep around. And that's what everybody said is the thing you do to heal, right? Everybody said, like, oh, sleeping around is how you get over somebody. Sleeping around is so liberating. Sleeping around is like sexual freedom. And I did it, and I slept around for 2 years, and I hated every moment of it. I couldn't figure out when it was going to get fun. I thought maybe I was doing something wrong or wasn't doing it right, but I hated every minute of sleeping around. And the truth is with HSV, first off, if we want to talk about it in a clinical and medical sense, you never know when you get it, because it can be dormant in your system for years and years and years, is what they'll say and what they'll tell you. But my perspective is that everybody has a predisposition to any illness, any disease, any virus. And these predispositions that we have get triggered by our emotional wounding and patterns. And so I had a very deep wound of unworthiness. I did not feel worthy of partners who treated me right. I didn't feel worthy of sexual partners who actually cared about me. I didn't think I was worthy of being loved because I did not get that type of love in childhood. And so that was a pattern and a story and a belief that I carried deep internally within me, was that I was not worthy of love. And so that it didn't matter who I gave my body to. It didn't matter what situations I put myself in. It didn't matter who I let cross my boundaries. And at this point of sleeping around, I finally hit a point where I had a first HSV breakout. It could have been any one of the people. It could have been somebody I started sleeping with when I was in my teens. I have no idea. Again, I could have been carrying this virus for years and years and years dormant, and I had no idea. And finally, the energetics, so the emotional wounding and the patterning within me, needed to manifest so that I could heal that. So, you guys, when we have illness or disease of any kind, okay, what's happening is it is the body's effort to try to get your attention to a belief, to an emotion, to a story or a program that you have so that it can be released, so that it can be alchemized, transmuted, and transformed. And for me, I was going down a really bad path. You guys, I was smoking meth. I was hanging out, like I said, with the wrong people. Life was not going in a very good direction, but this trigger incident of me getting HSV was the moment that I woke the fuck up to the fact that I needed to change my life. And for a lot of us, when we have one of these catalyzing moments, some type of illness, a horrific breakup, some type of catastrophic event, sometimes we need that in order to wake up to the greater truth of who we are, to wake up to more in life. And this was my moment. This was my big wake up moment, because the truth is I wasn't enjoying sleeping around. I was miserable and I was crying every day. I was suicidal. I didn't feel good about myself every day. And this thing, catching HSV, was the single thing that saved my life. If it was not for that, I wouldn't have woken up to the fact that I was not loving my life, and that if I kept going, I was going to be used up and useless for the rest of my life. It hit me hard when I got HSV. But I'm going to tell you right now, after I went to the doctors and they told me it was a million other things before I finally had my first breakout, which lasted 3 months, and it was the most horrific thing in the world. It was the most painful thing in the world. During that time, I had intuitively been called to be vegan for 12 years. And I had abandoned myself every time because I was afraid of what people in my life would think, because I was in this abusive relationship and I knew it just was never going to fly. And so that was this humming in the back of my mind: be vegan. I started researching veganism. I started researching natural and holistic ways to heal HSV, because the one thing that my parents and my grandmother always told me was that there is a plant for every illness on this earth, that nothing is incurable, that everything can be cured. And I believed that. I believed that wholeheartedly. I'm going to tell you right now, the biggest proponent to healing, the biggest, is knowing that you can heal. Not even believing. Believing is just hoping. You have to know that you can heal. You can't just believe it. You have to, with every fiber of your being, know that you can heal. Because if not, then you're going to continue to perpetuate the belief that, well, maybe I can, maybe I can't. And there will be wires crossed. You have to know with every fiber of your being that it is possible. And you have to dedicate all of you to doing that, to healing that, right? And so I found veganism, I found meditation, I found breath work, I found energy healing, I found all of these modalities. And within 30 days, overnight, I was meditating every day, 3 hours a day. I got rid of everybody in my life who wasn't serving me, who reminded me of the drugs I was doing, who didn't make me feel good about myself. And the truth is I was completely alone. I had to eliminate everybody from my life. I had nobody. I did this thing alone. And I'm not telling you to go do this alone. but I am telling you to eliminate the people in your life that are toxic. And I'm not telling you you need to meditate 3 hours a day. I'm not telling you you need to gratitude journal every day the way I did. I'm not telling you you even need to do energy healing every day the way I did, because I had a very strict routine when I healed my HSV. But I'm going to tell you right now, I enjoyed every moment of it. I didn't wake up miserable, hating the fact that I had to gratitude journal, that I had to meditate, that I had to do my energy work. No, I wanted to. Because for the first time in my life, I was taking my life back. For the first time in my life, I was pouring love into me. I wasn't pouring all of my time, energy, effort into love, into everyone else, pouring from an empty cup nonetheless. For the first time in my life, I was so focused on me, my needs, my wants, what I needed to do for me. And every ounce, every second of every day, I poured into me, my wellness, my health, and it felt good. If it doesn't feel good to pour into yourself in those ways, like meditating, breath work, fasting, then there's a good chance that that's not for you. Because the truth is we don't need to be vegan to heal. We don't need to be on a raw diet to heal. Healing has far less to do about food and more about how you're speaking to yourself, your belief systems, your patterns, the stories you tell yourself. And so I spend every day looking at my patterns, looking at why was things happening the way they were? Why did I seem to be dating the same type of people? Why was I attracting the same things in my life? I'm going to tell you right now, the common denominator was me. I was the issue in my life. I was the one who had poor boundaries. I was the one letting these people into my life, men into my sacred body. I was the one choosing to do drugs. I was the one who was ruining my own life. And I had to get really real and really honest about that. And then I had to choose the appropriate changes that felt right for me. The healing journey is not one size fits all. There are so many different ways to do things. There is definitely science behind a lot of things. For example, fasting is a proven way to help allow your body the space it needs to naturally begin healing on its own when it's not needing to digest food all the time. I'm currently on a 25-hour fast right now, which I haven't done in a really long time, and I'm feeling great, by the way. But it's like the reason we fast, not only is it got health benefits, and ladies, you're going to have to be careful at what point in your cycle you do fast, but fasting not only has health benefits, but it eliminates the distraction of food. We use food to numb. We use television to numb. We use relationships to numb. We use our phone to numb. We use drugs to numb. We use movies to numb, scrolling to numb. We numb all the time. And so when we begin to fast ourselves away from these things, when we begin to choose things like meditation and breath work and fasting and prayer and gratitude journaling, really what you're doing is you're choosing to be with yourself. You're choosing to be with what needs to come up. And I'm going to tell you right now, what needs to come up is pain, the stories, the patterns that want to be looked at, the wounds that want to be nurtured. Trust me, when I was doing fasting, and I did 90-day fasting off and on, 90 days, you guys. This was intermittent fasting between fruit, juice, water, dry. Your demons come up when you're fasting because you don't have a numbing agent. And the truth is I didn't want to numb no more. I wanted to heal in my life. I wanted to be different. I wanted to be somebody different. I didn't want to be somebody who was smoking meth. I didn't want to be somebody who had a failed 10-year relationship. I didn't want to be somebody who hated the way she looked in the mirror. I wanted change more than anything. And the change of staying the same, or the pain of staying the same, became greater than the pain of changing. Because I'm going to tell you right now, change is hard. But when you get to that breaking point, it becomes your only option, and then it becomes easy. And that was the point that I was at in my journey. And so my journey of healing HSV was far less about the foods, although those were very supportive things because, like I said, healing is holistic. We need to do the whole thing. We need to work on our mind, our emotions, our energy, and our bodies. And so, yes, for me, doing a vegan diet, predominantly raw, a lot of fasting, that was helping my body at the time. The energy work that I would do for an hour every day was me putting love and intention and prayer into my body, into the cells of my body, commanding my body healed, knowing I was going to heal, knowing if I just spent some time with myself, loving myself, putting good energy, good love, good words into myself, that I was going to heal. The spending time journaling, doing gratitude, getting clear on my patterns and wounds, journaling for hours every day was getting my mind healthy. Crying every day, being with myself when I was sad, holding myself, not judging myself was healing my heart and emotions. The truth is, you guys, is we all have a why we contract HSV or why we contract any disease. Okay? That why is the thing you need to work with. And for me, it was I felt unworthy. So I let people into my body. I let people cross my boundaries. I let myself down and I abandoned myself because I didn't feel worthy of love. And let me tell you, your love from yourself is the most important love you can give. And I spent years abandoning myself, not feeling even worthy of love from myself. And so I spent my healing journey loving myself harder than I've ever done. And for me, that looked like working out every day, the breath work, the meditation, the journaling, the energy work, all of it. And my whole day was structured around that. And I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. It became a part of me. It became the new identity of me. So in order to heal HSV or any illness, any disease, you have to go through an identity level shift. And the way that we do that is by choosing new habits, choosing new thoughts, choosing new feelings, choosing new stories, choosing new beliefs, and shifting our patterns. You guys, we all have patterns running in the subconscious mind. Our brains are what's known as theta state from the ages in the womb to about 7 years old. And during that time, our brainwave state is constantly in theta, which is the most programmable brainwave state. So the relationship dynamics that you witness as a child between your mother and your father, or your parents and their partners if your parents weren't together, those relationship dynamics then unconsciously play out as an adult. Any ridicule, abuse, criticism, or lack of love and attention you got during those years become programs and stories that later fuck with you when you get older. All the love and attention and gratitude and joy that you experience as a child also becomes programs. It also becomes a way in which you act when you're older. And let me tell you, I did not have the most loving, most healthy childhood. So therefore, all of my relationships, all of my patterns, all of my wounds continue to play out all throughout my 20s, my teen years. And I had to make an identity level shift by choosing new thoughts, new stories, new feelings, new emotions. That is the only way. And I was dedicated to that more than anything. I became so devoted to myself. I choose in that moment to never abandon myself. That was how I healed. That's how you're going to heal. And the truth be told, I'm currently experiencing a new illness that people are usually told is incurable. And I'm having to do another identity shift. And I'm telling you, I'm finding it very difficult. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's easy because it is not. But I will sit here and tell you it is 1000% possible. 1000% healing is possible. And it requires you looking at the parts of yourself that you are avoiding. It requires you holding the parts of you that you keep pushing away. It requires you getting really fucking honest with yourself about what you're willing to do to love yourself, to take care of yourself, to nurture yourself, to heal yourself. It is not easy to face our parts of self that we have for years pushed away, ignored, criticized, hated. But I'm telling you right now, in order to heal, you've got to pull those parts closest to you. Love them. Get curious about them. Hold them. Say kind things to them. That is the only way in which we heal. And I won't sit here and tell you that a vegan diet, a raw diet is the only way to heal HSV, because it's not. It's a really good way to clear out your vessel and to detox your vessel, but it is also not for everyone. And I have learned this on my journey. It is not for everyone. And some people heal these illnesses and diseases on meat diets. This is why it's far less about the diet and more about where is your inner guidance leading you. For me, my inner guidance led me to veganism. It led me to fasting. It led me to meditation. It led me to energy work. It led me to these things. And how did I know? Because I quieted my mind. I quieted all of the extra noise of what people thought, what people were saying, and I just listened. And it showed up in various ways. For example, I remember I didn't really know much about fasting, but I kept hearing the word in my head. I'd wake up in the morning and something would be like fasting. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And then my roommate would be like, hey, have you ever heard of fasting? Oh, that's weird. I was just thinking that earlier today. I'd be walking to work and see a billboard that says fasting. Our subconscious mind is always trying to get our attention because our subconscious mind is in the body, and the body knows what's right. The body knows what each and every one of you need, but you have to quiet the mind, quiet all of that information in the world and listen to the information of the body, because the body knows what's best for you. You specifically. And what works for you is not going to work for another. What worked for me is not going to always work for you. It's about learning to listen to that instinct, that intuition. Our unconscious mind is in our body. Listen to the body. It is intelligent. It knows what you need. A lot of people ask me, how much oregano oil did you take every day? Because oregano oil is great for healing HSV. It is an antiviral. Can't tell you that. You know why? Because my body told me how much I needed to take and when. I will tell you that there are certain things that you can do, certain things that you can eat that will help assist your body in the detoxification process of not only your wounds and your emotions, but parasites, viruses, illness, disease, stagnancy in the organs, in the digestive tract, in the energy field. There are ways that, yes, things like oregano oil and coconut oil and herbs and eating fruit and vegetables in a whole food diet, drinking your water, slowing down, being in nature, putting your bare feet on the ground, being in the sun, meditating, praying to yourself, speaking health and wellness over yourself and into your cells. These are all very important proponents to healing. Very important. But arguably, shifting your patterns and the way you think and your belief system is the most important. That comes first. That needs to be something you work with first. So I invite you to ask yourself, why do you have HSV? Why do you have this illness or that illness? What has caused you to get to that point? What's happening? With HSV, who have you let into your life? Who are you letting cross your boundaries? Why have you stayed in that relationship after you knew they cheated? Why did you stay in that relationship longer than you knew you should have? Why did you go chasing that person you knew was going to hurt you? Why did you end up doing the things that you did not want to do? Why did you cross your own boundaries? Getting to the root of that, because I'm going to tell you right now, you guys, you can heal something and it come back. You can heal something temporarily and it come back if you haven't dealt with the original wound, the original pattern, the original belief. So in order to heal, we have to shift that, or we will continue to call it into your lives. And I'll give you an example of that. So being in this abusive relationship for 10 years, I had PCOS. When I embarked on my HSV healing journey, I also healed my PCOS. But in the last 2 years, my PCOS has come back. And why? Because there's a certain pattern that I have that I haven't fully healed. And it's being in my masculine too much. It's when I feel unsafe in my life and I have abandoned myself. So I have a real issue with abandoning myself, you guys. This is an issue that I've had to stumble and work with many, many times. My HSV issue was my unworthiness. I didn't feel worthy of love. Me learning and showing myself how worthy of love I was is what healed my HSV. Because I showed myself a form of love that I have never experienced in my fucking life. I loved myself harder than anyone's ever loved me. And I was worthy of every bit of it, which is also why I am in a marriage where I am worshiped and loved more than I've ever been loved, because I learned to do that for me. So I will never get HSV. But abandoning myself, to abandon myself, that puts me in a sense of danger, unsafety. And when a woman feels unsafe or in danger, what happens? She goes into her masculine energy. And when that happens, her female reproductive organs start to disintegrate, start to get illness and disease. And I had a very traumatic experience happen to me 2 years ago. Me and my husband lost everything, and I felt very unsafe. And I haven't fully felt through that experience. I haven't fully worked on that. And frankly, it's gotten so bad that it's difficult for me to do so. But the thing is I'm trying every single day. I'm taking action steps every single day. The secret to healing, you guys, is to first figure out your why. Why are you in the position you're in? How did you get there? And I don't want you to put the blame onto anyone else, but I want you to look at yourself. I'm not saying blame yourself. We aren't here to criticize, blame, and shame ourselves. We're here to get honest with ourselves, to get curious about ourselves and why we do the things we do, why we say the things we do, why we think the things we do, why we take action on the things that we do, why we feel the way we do. It's about getting compassionately curious about ourselves. It's about getting compassionately curious about who we are and why we do the things we do. And so your first step into healing is that. Getting compassionately curious about who you are and why you are where you're at. Without blame, not blaming others, not blaming yourself, but rather just getting honest with yourself. And from there, start listening. Ask your body. Take time. Place your hand over your heart and close your eyes and ask your body, what do you need most? What do you need for me to do for you in order to support our healing? Ask and you shall receive an answer. Because I'm telling you right now, there's so much information out there that becomes overwhelming. So much information. And you will never find the truth of what is going to work for you unless you silence all of that outside world and you tune into you and ask you what you need. Ask your body what you need. Develop a relationship with your body. Develop a relationship with yourself so that you can begin to get clear on what you need for your journey at all phases. Whether you're healing or you're just needing to make everyday decisions, your body will give you those answers. Start to develop a relationship with it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to link one of my free books, a couple of my free books on healing HSV, and it's going to have more of the physical stuff. Because as you can see, I didn't really go into the physical stuff, right? So it's going to have more of the physical stuff. It's going to talk to you a little bit about how HSV works in the body. It's going to talk to you about the different things you can use, the different herbs you can use. So I am going to give you the support in that. But what I'm really trying to get through to you guys today is that true healing happens on an identity level shift. And in order to do that, we need to get compassionately curious about who we are and develop a relationship with ourselves. We need to begin to take care of ourselves, love and nurture ourselves. And in order to do that, we need to start taking care of ourselves and doing right by ourselves and stop abandoning ourselves and realize that we are worthy of love. We need to start setting boundaries with ourselves, setting boundaries with others. But it really starts with you just getting curious about yourself and getting honest with yourself. Finding your why behind the why. That is uno, numero the number one step that you can do. So if you made it this far, I wish you all the best on your healing journey. And again, I'm going to tell you right now, healing is 1000% possible. It doesn't matter what illness you're working with. It is possible if you are willing to put in the work to change who you need to be, because the truth is you are where you're at because who you were being isn't working for you anymore. And life is asking you to evolve. Life is asking you to alchemize yourself and to transform into somebody new. And so we have these moments in our lives. Life is never going to be peachy all the time. Life is always going to be in levels. And let me tell you, 7 years later, 8 years later, I've hit a new level and a new illness is in my life that is forcing me to grow and evolve as a person. It's forcing me to alchemize who I was into somebody new. And I believe in you. I believe that you can heal. I believe that you can make the changes you want to make. I believe you can do this. You got this. Healing is possible. Love yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be compassionate to yourself. And be curious about who you are. Get to know who you are. All right? Healing is possible. Know it. Know it. All right? All right. Adios, amigos.